The first time Lily Harper saw Dante Moretti, the whole city was screaming underground. Red emergency lights flashed across the subway tunnel like a heartbeat made of blood. The train had stopped between stations with a violent metallic shriek, throwing passengers against poles, windows, and each other. Somewhere near the front car, a woman was crying. Somewhere behind Lily, a man kept shouting that the doors would not open. But Lily could barely hear any of it. Her hands were empty. Her sketchbook was gone. The black, leather-bound book that held every final design she had spent 2 years creating. Her graduation collection, her future. Every hand-drawn gown, every fabric note, every hidden stitch pattern her professor had called hauntingly beautiful. Gone in less than 15 seconds. 1 second, she had been standing near the doors, hugging it to her chest while the rush-hour train rattled beneath downtown Chicago. The next, 3 young men in dark hoodies pushed through the crowd. One slammed into her shoulder. Another grabbed her bag. The third ripped the sketchbook from her arm so hard the corner sliced her palm open. Lily had screamed, "Please. No, please. Not that." The thief had only looked back once, not at her face, at the silver initials stamped on the lower corner of the book, L.H. Then he smiled like he had found exactly what he came for. The train lights flickered. A voice crackled over the speaker. "Emergency lockdown protocol has been activated. All passengers remain inside the train. Do not attempt to open the doors." The entire car erupted. Phones came out. People cursed. Someone demanded police. Someone else whispered that every station in the loop had gone dark at the same time. Lily stood frozen in the chaos, her breath thin and sharp, her cut hand trembling against her coat. This was not a normal robbery. She knew it before she understood why. 5 minutes later, the tunnel filled with footsteps. Not police footsteps. Heavier, slower, controlled. The passengers fell silent one by one as shadows moved beyond the train windows. Men in black suits appeared on the platform walkway outside the stalled train, their faces hard, their hands hidden beneath long coats. Dozens of them, then hundreds, stretching into the red-lit darkness, like an army that had risen from beneath the city. And, at the center of them, walked a man who made the entire subway car forget how to breathe. Dante Moretti. Lily did not know his name yet, but everyone else did. A businessman near her whispered it like a prayer and a curse. Moretti. The man outside the glass moved with impossible calm. Tall, broad-shouldered, black wool coat. Dark hair slicked back by rain or snow from the world above. His face was not handsome in a gentle way. It was carved, cold, controlled. The kind of face that made powerful men lower their eyes. The red lights slid over his cheekbones as he stopped beside Lily's window. For one impossible second, he looked directly at her. Not around her, not past her, at her. His expression did not change, but something in his eyes sharpened. Recognition. Lily's heart stumbled. The doors opened. No one touched the emergency release. No one asked permission. The doors simply unlocked, and the city's most feared man stepped into the train car. Every passenger backed away except Lily, who could not move. Dante Moretti's gaze dropped to her bleeding hand. His jaw tightened. "Who touched you?" he asked. His voice was quiet. That made it worse. Lily stared at him, unable to answer. A man with silver hair stepped behind him and spoke into a small earpiece. 3 suspects moving toward Monroe, one carrying a black book. Dante did not look away from Lily. "The book," Lily whispered. "They took my sketchbook." A strange silence passed over his face. Not confusion, not concern. Something colder, something personal. "Your sketchbook," he repeated. Lily nodded. tears burning behind her eyes despite how badly she did not want to cry in front of him. Dante took one step closer. Every instinct in Lily told her to step back. She did. His eyes flickered. Not offended. Amused. Almost. Or maybe wounded. "You should be afraid of the men who stole from you," he said. "Not me." Lily's voice shook. "You shut down the subway." His gaze stayed locked on hers. "Yes." "For Sketchbook?" "No." His eyes dropped briefly to her injured hand. "For you." The words landed too heavily, too intimately, as if he had known her long before this train ever stopped. Before Lily could respond, a gunshot cracked somewhere down the tunnel. The entire car screamed. Dante moved instantly. He seized Lily by the waist and pulled her against him, turning his body between her and the sound. His coat swallowed her in warmth and expensive cologne, smoke, leather, winter air. His hand spread across the back of her head, pressing her face against his chest as more shots echoed through the station. Lily's body went rigid. She should have pushed him away. She should have screamed. But his heartbeat was calm, terrifyingly calm. Around them, his men moved like shadows. Passengers dropped to the floor. Glass shattered in the next car. Red light flashed over Dante's face as he looked down the tunnel with no fear at all. "Find them," he said. 2 words. The men obeyed. Within seconds, the gunfire moved farther away. Lily slowly lifted her head. Dante's hand was still on her back. He noticed at the same moment she did. For a breath, neither of them moved. Then, he released her, like touching her had been a mistake he did not trust himself to repeat. "Come with me," he said. "No." The answer escaped Lily before she could stop it. Several of his men turned. Dante only looked at her. A faint, dangerous stillness settled over him. "No?" Lily swallowed. Her knees felt weak, but she forced herself to stand straighter. "I don't know you. You know enough to understand that staying here is not safe. I understand that men with guns just appeared because my sketchbook was stolen." His gaze darkened. "Those men did not appear because of the book. Then why?" For the first time, Dante Moretti did not answer quickly. That frightened Lily, more than the gunfire. The older man behind him stepped forward. "Boss, Monroe platform is compromised. Kane's people are inside the tunnels." Dante's eyes hardened at the name. Kane. Lily caught it. She did not know who Kane was, but the name changed the air. Dante looked back at her. "You are coming with me." That sounded less like protection and more like kidnapping. A flicker of something almost human crossed his face. "Good," he said. "Then you're paying attention." Before she could argue, the lights went out. For half a second, the entire train dropped into blackness. Then the red emergency glow returned. Dimmer now, pulsing. A body slammed against the outside of the train window. Someone screamed. A man in a hoodie pressed one bloody hand against the glass. In his other hand was Lily's sketchbook. Her breath caught. The thief looked straight at her, then past her, at Dante. His face twisted in panic. Before Dante's men could reach him, the thief ran into the tunnel darkness. Lily moved before thinking. "My book." She lunged toward the door. Dante caught her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, hard enough to stop her. "Let go," she snapped. "No, that's my future. That book may be the reason you don't have one." Lily froze her. Dante realized too late what he had revealed. Her voice dropped. "What does that mean?" Another explosion of movement came from the tunnel. Shouts, boots, a train horn somewhere distant. Dante's men surged forward, but Dante stayed with Lily, his grip still around her wrist, his thumb dangerously close to the pulse racing beneath her skin. He looked at her, as if deciding how much truth she could survive. Then he said, "Your mother should have burned that sketchbook pattern years ago." The world narrowed. My mother is dead. I know. The softness in those 2 words struck her harder than his power. Lily pulled her wrist free. How do you know my mother? Dante's expression shut down again. Iron gates closing behind his eyes. Not here. No. You don't get to walk into my life, shut down the city, tell me my dead mother is connected to this, and then say not here. His men watched in stunned silence. No one spoke to Dante Moretti that way, especially not a trembling fashion student with blood on her hand and tears in her eyes. But Dante did not punish her. He only stepped closer until the red light cut across both their faces. Lily Harper, he said quietly, and the sound of her full name in his mouth made her blood turn cold. There are men in this city who would tear Chicago apart to find what your mother hid. Tonight, they found you first. Lily's throat tightened. You know my name. I have known your name for 12 years. The train seemed to tilt beneath her feet. 12 years. She was 23 now. 12 years ago, her mother had died in what police called a gas leak. Lily had always believed it, because believing anything else would have destroyed her. Dante turned his head slightly. Marco, the silver-haired man, approached. Take Miss Harper to the north exit. No press, no police, no mistakes. Lily backed away. I'm not going anywhere with you. Dante looked at her bleeding hand again, then at her face. Something cold and possessive moved through his eyes, but beneath it was something more dangerous. Fear, not for himself, for here. You can hate me tomorrow, he said. Tonight you survive. A second gunshot cracked near the rear of the train. This time, the window beside Lily shattered. Dante moved faster than thought. He pulled her down and covered her with his body as glass rained over them like ice. His arm wrapped around her shoulders. His other hand pressed against the floor beside her head. Around them, his men fired back into the tunnel, shouting orders beneath the roar of panic. Lily's cheek was against Dante's chest again. Her whole body shook. He lowered his mouth near her ear. Breathe, he ordered softly. She tried. Failed. His voice became quieter. Look at me. She did. His eyes were dark, merciless, and impossibly steady. No one takes what belongs to you again, he said. Lily did not know whether it was a promise or a threat. Maybe both. Minutes later, Dante carried her out of the train. Not because she asked, because her legs would not hold. The tunnel was chaos behind them. Red lights, broken glass, armed men, passengers crying on the floor, security alarms screaming through the underground. Ahead of them, the emergency stairwell glowed with cold white light. Lily should have been terrified of being in his arms. She was. But she was also terrified of the fact that, for the first time since her mother died, someone had come for her like losing her was not an option. At the top of the stairs, Chicago waited in the rain. Black SUVs lined the street outside the locked subway entrance. Police cars sat uselessly behind barricades. Reporters shouted from across the block, cameras flashing through the storm. Dante's men formed a wall around them. Lily looked over his shoulder and saw every subway entrance on the street sealed with red emergency lights. The whole city had stopped because someone had stolen her sketchbook. Because of a secret her mother had buried. Because Dante Moretti had been watching her for 12 years. He lowered her gently into the back of a black SUV, then paused before closing the door. Rain ran down his face. For 1 second, he looked less like a king of the underworld, and more like a man standing at the edge of something he had spent years trying not to feel. Lily clutched her injured hand to her chest. Tell me the truth, she whispered. Did you know this would happen? Dante's silence answered before he did. Then he said, I hoped it wouldn't. The door closed. The locks engaged. And as the SUV pulled into the rainy Chicago night, Lily saw Dante Moretti standing alone beneath a flashing red subway sign, surrounded by armed men, looking like he had just started a war for a girl who had never even known his name. The black SUV sliced through the rain-soaked streets of Chicago with unsettling precision. Lily sat rigidly in the rear seat, her injured hand wrapped in a clean, white bandage that one of Dante's medics had applied before she even realized anyone had entered the vehicle. The city blurred beyond the tinted windows. Sirens echoed in the distance. Helicopters circled somewhere overhead. Every few blocks, another black SUV silently merged into the convoy. They weren't escaping. They were being escorted. Dante sat across from her, one arm resting on the leather seat, his expression unreadable. Since leaving the subway, he hadn't spoken a single unnecessary word. His eyes occasionally drifted toward her bandaged hand before returning to the rain outside. Lily finally broke the silence. "You've been watching me for 12 years. He didn't deny it. "Yes." She swallowed. "Why?" His jaw tightened slightly. "Because someone promised your mother they would." Before she could ask another question, the convoy descended into a private underground entrance, hidden beneath one of Chicago's most luxurious skyscrapers. Massive steel gates opened automatically. Armed security officers, not gangsters, but disciplined professionals in tailored black tactical uniforms, stood at attention as the vehicles rolled inside. The elevator carried them directly to the penthouse. When its doors opened, Lily stopped walking. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooked the entire Chicago skyline. Rain streaked across the windows, while thousands of city lights shimmered beneath the storm. The apartment looked less like a home and more like the command center of a billionaire whose entire life revolved around protecting people. Multiple screens displayed live traffic feeds, security maps, and emergency communications. One screen showed every subway station in Chicago. Another displayed the words, "Search protocol active." Lily turned slowly. "You really shut down the city's subway." Dante removed his coat without looking away from the monitors. "I did. For me?" "No." His answer surprised her. "For what was stolen?" She frowned. "It was just my sketchbook." His eyes finally met hers. "No, Lily." He walked toward a locked cabinet, built into the wall. It stopped being just a sketchbook long before today. An older man entered, carrying a wooden case. Silver hair, calm eyes. The same man Dante had called Marco underground. "Miss Harper." His voice was surprisingly gentle. "I'm afraid your hand needs proper stitches." Lily instinctively pulled her hand back. "I'm fine." Marco smiled kindly. That answer usually means the opposite. For the first time that night, Dante almost smiled. "Almost. You'll learn," he said quietly. Marco has never lost an argument with an injured person. 20 minutes later, Lily sat on a sofa overlooking the skyline while Marco finished dressing her wound. The silence felt strangely peaceful, until Dante placed something on the coffee table. An old photograph. Lily leaned forward. The air left her lungs. It was her mother, much younger, standing beside a man she immediately recognized, despite the decade separating the image. Dante. Only he looked barely older than he did now. "You." Her voice barely existed. "You knew her. I owed her my life." Lily stared between them. "My mother never mentioned you. She wasn't allowed to." Dante walked toward the windows. Rain rolled down the glass behind him. 12 years ago, your mother discovered something that powerful people were willing to kill for." "What?" "I'll explain." His voice became quieter. "But first," he turned. "I need you to understand something." His eyes locked onto hers. "Today's robbery wasn't random." Lily's heartbeat accelerated. "The men who took your sketchbook weren't interested in fashion. They looked at my initials. They were verifying they had the correct target." The room suddenly felt colder. "You mean they've been searching for you?" Marco opened a leather folder. Inside were photographs, security images, Dozens. Lily walking to class. Lily leaving coffee shops. Lily shopping for fabric. Lily laughing with classmates. Lily sitting alone beside Lake Michigan. She looked up in horror. "You've been following me." "No." Dante's voice remained calm. "I've been making sure no one else could." Anger finally overwhelmed her fear. "You call this protection?" She gathered several photographs. "You watched my entire life. They never knew you existed." "They?" "The people who murdered your mother." The room fell silent. Lily stopped breathing. "My mother died because of a gas leak." "No." Dante's answer was immediate. "They made certain you believed that." Her knees weakened. Everything she had believed for 12 years suddenly felt fragile. A notification flashed across one of the security monitors. Marco immediately answered. His expression changed. "Dante." He turned. "They found one. Alive? For now." Lily looked between them. "Found who?" Dante reached for his coat. "The man who stole your sketchbook." The convoy arrived at an abandoned warehouse along the Chicago River. Rain hammered against rusted steel roofs. Inside, private security teams surrounded a terrified young man, no older than 20. His hoodie was soaked. Blood trickled from his forehead. The stolen sketchbook lay on the floor nearby. Lily gasped. "My book." She instinctively stepped forward. Dante caught her wrist. "Wait." The thief looked up. The moment he saw Dante, every ounce of arrogance vanished. "I didn't know," he shouted. "I swear, you were paid." Dante's voice remained dangerously calm. "By who?" The young man hesitated, then whispered one name. "Kane." Dante didn't react. Marco did. Several security officers exchanged tense glances. Lily noticed. "Who's Kane?" No one answered. Suddenly, the warehouse lights exploded. Glass shattered overhead. Smoke flooded the building. "Move," Marco shouted. The first bullet slammed into a steel pillar. Security teams instantly surrounded Lily. More gunfire erupted from outside. Someone screamed. The warehouse transformed into chaos. Dante grabbed Lily's hand. This time she didn't resist. He pulled her behind a concrete wall. The sketchbook still lay in the middle of the warehouse floor, only 15 feet away. Another explosion echoed outside. The thief who had spoken Kane's name suddenly bolted toward the exit. A sniper's shot rang through the smoke. The young man collapsed before reaching the door. Lily covered her mouth. "Oh my God." He was silenced. Dante's expression darkened. He knew too much. Then Lily saw it. A masked attacker sprinted directly toward her sketchbook, ignoring everyone else, ignoring the firefight. His only objective was the book. Dante noticed at the same instant. Without hesitation, he stepped into the open. "Dante," Lily shouted. 3 shots cracked through the warehouse. Security officers returned fire. The masked attacker grabbed the sketchbook, but Dante reached him first. The two collided across the concrete floor. The book slid several feet away. Lily instinctively ran toward it. Marco shouted her name. Too late. She picked up the sketchbook just as another masked figure emerged from the smoke. He raised a pistol. Straight at her. Time slowed. Lily couldn't move. Before the trigger could be pulled, Dante threw himself between them. The shot echoed. His shoulder jerked violently. He didn't fall. Instead, he drove the attacker into a stack of steel containers with enough force to knock the weapon across the warehouse. Security officers flooded in seconds later. The attackers retreated into the rain. Silence gradually returned. Only the sound of water dripping from the broken roof remained. Lily stared at Dante. Blood slowly soaked through the sleeve of his black coat. "You've been shot. It's nothing. It is not nothing." She hurried toward him, forgetting who he was, forgetting to be afraid. She reached for his injured arm. Dante looked down at her trembling hands. "You should be checking the sketchbook." "I don't care about the sketchbook right now." The words escaped before she realized what she had admitted. Their eyes met. Everything around them faded. Rain, sirens, security teams, smoke. None of it existed. Only the two of them. For the first time since she had met him, the iron control in Dante's expression cracked. Just slightly. Just enough for Lily to glimpse the exhausted man beneath the legend. A man who had spent 12 years protecting someone from the shadows. She carefully pressed her scarf against his bleeding shoulder. He never looked away from her. His voice was almost a whisper. "You'll always choose people before dreams." Lily frowned. "What?" A faint, bittersweet smile touched his lips. "You're exactly like your mother." Before Lily could answer, Marco hurried toward them, his face tense. "Dante, what is it?" Marco looked at the sketchbook in Lily's hands. The first pages are untouched. He slowly opened the back cover. His expression turned pale. The hidden compartment. He looked up. "It's empty." Dante's eyes hardened instantly. What was inside? Marco answered with quiet certainty. "The original blueprint." Lily stared between them. "What blueprint?" Neither man spoke, because somewhere beyond the warehouse, hidden in the rain, Victor Kane now possessed whatever had once been concealed inside her sketchbook. And for the first time in 12 years, Dante Moretti realized he was already too late. The drive back to the penthouse was silent, not because there was nothing left to say, because every answer seemed to create 3 new questions. Lily sat beside Dante in the rear of the SUV, the recovered sketchbook resting in her lap. Its leather cover was scratched. Several pages were bent. Tiny drops of rain clung to the edges where it had slid across the warehouse floor. She opened it carefully. Every sketch was still there. The evening gowns, the hand-drawn silhouettes, the intricate embroidery notes. Nothing appeared to be missing, yet Marco's words echoed in her mind. The hidden compartment. "It's empty." She turned every page again. "I've owned this sketchbook for 3 years," she said quietly. "I never knew there was a hidden compartment." "There wasn't," Dante replied. She looked up. "You mean? It was added before your mother gave it to you." Lily frowned. "My mother died when I was 11. She finished preparing it the week before." The words struck her like cold water. For years, she had believed the sketchbook was simply a graduation gift her mother had bought long before her death. Instead, it had been prepared with intention. Back at the penthouse, Dante finally allowed the medical team to examine his shoulder. The bullet had torn through the muscle without striking bone. "You need to stay still for at least 48 hours, the physician insisted. "I have meetings. You have stitches. I can do both." The physician sighed, clearly accustomed to losing arguments with him. Lily stood quietly near the window, pretending not to watch. When the doctor left, Dante reached for his jacket. She crossed the room before thinking. "No." He looked at her. "You are not putting that on." His eyebrow lifted almost imperceptibly. "Miss Harper, you were shot because of me." "I was shot because someone made a poor decision. That's not funny." "I wasn't joking." She folded her arms. "You can't keep acting like you're invincible." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marco cleared his throat from the doorway. "I've been trying to tell him that for 15 years. To Lily's surprise, Dante almost looked embarrassed. Almost. Later that night, Marco guided Lily into a quieter section of the penthouse. Unlike the sleek command center downstairs, this room felt deeply personal. Shelves filled with old books, a gran piano, vintage photographs, a fireplace burning softly despite the summer rain outside. Marco poured tea into 2 porcelain cups. "You have questions." "I have hundreds." He nodded. "You deserve answers." Lily looked toward the closed door. "Will he tell me?" "Eventually." "Why not now?" Marco smiled sadly. "Because the truth hurts him as much as it will hurt you." He handed her a faded photograph. It showed her mother standing beside a younger Dante. Between them stood a smiling little girl, Lily, maybe 6 years old. Her breath caught. I don't remember this. You wouldn't. Marco sat opposite her. It was taken at a charity gala. My mother took me? No. Dante did. Lily stared at him. What? Your mother volunteered at one of the Foundation's youth programs. She trusted very few people. Marco paused. But she trusted Dante. Lily's hands trembled. Then why did she disappear from his life? Because she discovered someone inside the organization was selling classified security technology to international buyers. And they killed her before she could expose them. The room fell silent. Lily felt as though the floor had disappeared beneath her. My whole life was built on a lie. Marco lowered his eyes. Yes. Meanwhile, downstairs, Dante stood alone in the command room. Chicago glowed beyond the windows. His injured shoulder throbbed beneath fresh bandages. A secure phone rang. He answered immediately. Report. A familiar voice responded. We've identified Kane's buyer. Dante's expression hardened. Location? Union Station. When? Tomorrow morning. And the blueprint? We believe they're exchanging it for encrypted defense software. Dante ended the call. His reflection stared back from the dark glass. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about the mission. He was thinking about Lily. That frightened him more than Victor Kane ever had. The next morning, Lily awoke to the smell of fresh coffee. For one blissfully ordinary moment, she almost forgot everything. Then she noticed the skyline outside unfamiliar windows. The previous day crashed back into her memory. The subway, the robbery, the gunfire, her mother, Dante. She walked into the kitchen. He was already there, still wearing a simple black shirt with one sleeve rolled slightly higher because of the bandage beneath. He glanced up. You slept. Barely. I expected less. She frowned. Is that your version of concern? It's my version of honesty. She surprised herself by smiling, very slightly. He noticed. His expression softened for only an instant. Then, it disappeared again. Breakfast should have been awkward. Instead, it felt strangely peaceful. No guards, no meetings, no alarms. Just two people sitting across from each other while rain tapped softly against enormous windows. Lily finally asked the question she had been avoiding. Why fashion? Dante looked up. My sketchbook. She continued. Why would anyone hide classified information inside fashion drawings? Instead of answering, he stood. Come with me. He led her to a secure archive beneath the penthouse. Rows of climate-controlled cabinets stretched into the distance. Each drawer contained preserved sketches, blueprints, prototypes, and historical documents. Dante unlocked one cabinet. Inside rested dozens of elegant fashion illustrations, all drawn by the same hand. My mother's. He nodded. She wasn't only a designer. Lily stepped closer. Every drawing contained remarkably intricate embroidery patterns. Beautiful, complex, mesmerizing. They're gorgeous. They're codes. She looked back. What? Each stitch count. He pointed carefully. Each seam placement. Another drawing. Each floral pattern. Another. They're mathematical encryption sequences. Lily slowly realized what she was seeing. My mother invented a way to hide sensitive information inside couture designs. Dante nodded. Only a handful of people ever knew. And Kane wants that system. Yes. So the blueprint teaches someone how to read every coded design ever created. Lily felt sick. If the wrong people possessed it, every hidden document her mother had protected could become exposed. An alarm suddenly sounded throughout the archive. Not loud, sharp, deliberate. Marco's voice echoed through the intercom. Dante. He answered instantly. What happened? We have a breach. Every screen inside the archive switched on simultaneously. Security cameras, parking garage, lobby, emergency, exits. One image froze everyone's attention. A woman entered the building carrying flowers. She smiled naturally at the receptionist. Nothing unusual, except Lily recognized her. Emily? Dante looked toward her. You know her. She's in my design program. Marco enlarged the image. The bouquet shifted slightly, hidden beneath white lilies. A compact firearm. Lily's heart stopped. She's not here to visit. Dante was already moving. Lock every elevator. Done. Seal the stairwells. They're closing now. What about Lily? Dante turned toward her. For the first time, real fear crossed his face. Not panic, not uncertainty, fear. They finally know where you are. The emergency doors slammed shut throughout the building. Emily abandoned the bouquet. Her pleasant expression vanished instantly. Within seconds, 6 armed operatives emerged from maintenance corridors on 3 different floors. It had never been one visitor. It had been a coordinated infiltration. Glass exploded in the lobby. Security teams engaged immediately. Lily stood frozen. My classmate. Marco gently guided her behind reinforced walls. She was never your friend. The firefight spread through the lower floors. Dante spoke calmly into his earpiece. Minimal force, unless necessary. His team acknowledged. Despite the chaos, he refused to take unnecessary lives. Lily noticed. This wasn't vengeance. It was protection. Then every light inside the archive suddenly died. Emergency lighting flickered red. Exactly like the subway. Someone had cut auxiliary power. Marco's voice became urgent. They've bypassed level 3. Heavy footsteps echoed outside the vault door. 1, 2, 3. Metal groaned. Someone was cutting through reinforced steel. Lily instinctively stepped backward. Dante positioned himself between her and the door. Again, always between danger and her. The cutting stopped. Silence. Then a familiar voice spoke through the steel. Calm, confident, almost amused. Don't. He didn't answer. You've protected her for 12 years. The voice chuckled softly, but she still doesn't know the whole story. Lily looked toward Dante. What is he talking about? The voice continued. Ask him why your mother chose him instead of your father. Everything stopped. Lily's breathing. Marco's movement. Even Dante seemed to freeze. Meh. Her voice barely emerged. My father? She turned slowly toward Dante. You told me my father died before I was born. Dante said nothing. Outside the vault, Victor Kane laughed quietly. There it is. He sounded almost satisfied. The lie finally broke. The cutting torch roared back to life. And Lily realized the greatest secret her mother had left behind might not be hidden inside a sketchbook after all. It might be hidden inside her own past. The cutting torch screamed against the reinforced steel. Molten sparks spilled beneath the vault door like liquid fire, illuminating Lily's stunned face. Her father. The words echoed louder than the alarms outside. She slowly turned toward Dante. You knew. He didn't answer immediately. Not because he wanted to hide the truth, because there was no version of it that wouldn't hurt her. Finally, he spoke. I knew the man you believed was your father wasn't your biological father. Lily's voice trembled. So, who is? Before Dante could answer, Victor Kane's voice carried through the thick steel again. Ask him why your mother trusted him with your life. Dante's eyes hardened. Don't listen to him. Then tell me yourself. The silence between them lasted only seconds, but it felt like years. At last, Dante took a slow breath. The man who fathered you was an intelligence officer, working undercover against an international trafficking network. Lily stared at him. He and your mother were trying to expose the organization that eventually became Kane's empire. He died? He disappeared before you were born. You don't know? I've spent 12 years trying to find out. Lily searched his face. For the first time since meeting him, she saw no carefully controlled protector, only a tired man, carrying a promise that had cost him nearly everything. My mother trusted you, with the one thing she loved most. His voice grew quieter. You. The vault door suddenly exploded inward. Smoke rolled across the floor. Security officers rushed to form a defensive line as armed attackers flooded into the archive. Victor Kane never entered. He remained somewhere beyond the smoke, directing the assault through an earpiece. "Find the blueprint," his voice ordered. "Leave no witnesses." The firefight erupted. Glass shattered. Concrete splintered. Emergency lights flashed crimson across rows of archived designs. Lily instinctively reached for the nearest cabinet as bullets struck metal nearby. One drawer burst open. Hundreds of her mother's original sketches scattered across the floor like snow. She froze. Every page, every embroidery pattern, every impossible design. Then something caught her eye. One drawing looked wrong. The flowers embroidered along the collar didn't match the others. The spacing was different. The rhythm uneven. Almost intentionnel. She picked it up. Dante saw it immediately. "Lily, I think." She turned the page over. "This isn't fashion." Tiny pencil marks appeared beneath the paper when it caught the emergency light. Numbers, coordinates, a message hidden between layers of graphite. Marco looked over her shoulder. "May God." Dante's expression changed instantly. "The blueprint was never inside your sketchbook." Lily looked up. "It was inside one of my mother's original designs." Marco nodded. She knew someone would eventually search the sketchbook, so she created a decoy. Dante allowed himself the smallest smile. "Your mother was always 3 moves ahead." Outside, Kane heard enough through a hacked security channel to understand what had happened. His calm disappeared. "Get that drawing." Attackers surged forward. Security officers held the line, but the archive was becoming impossible to defend. Marco looked toward Dante. "We have less than 2 minutes." Dante already knew. He turned to Lily. "There's another exit." "You? I'll buy you time." "No." She stepped toward him. "I'm not leaving you." His eyes softened. "You finally trust me." "I didn't say that." A faint smile crossed his face. "You didn't have to." Marco led Lily toward a concealed passage behind the archive. Halfway there, she stopped. "No." Marco frowned. "Miss Harper, he'll never leave if we're the reason he's staying." Marco knew she was right. Before either of them could argue further, the building shook violently. En explosion. Not inside. Outside. The security monitors flickered back online. Dozens of police vehicles had surrounded the building. Federal agents. Emergency response units. Kane's operatives, realizing escape was impossible, began surrendering one after another. Their plan had collapsed, not because of overwhelming force, because Kane's encrypted communications had just been decrypted using the coordinates hidden in Lily's mother's design. The files exposed years of financial crimes, trafficking routes, bribery, and corruption, triggering simultaneous law enforcement operations across the city. Marco looked at Dante. "It's over." Dante slowly lowered his weapon. "No." His gaze remained fixed on the entrance. "Kane will run." He did. Victor Kane escaped through a service tunnel beneath the building. Dante followed alone. The tunnel stretched beneath the Chicago River, cold and dripping with decades of forgotten history. Kane stood near an emergency exit. "You've lost," Dante said. Kane smiled. "Have I?" He held up a detonator. "If I can't have the archive." His thumb rested on the trigger. "No one does." Dante didn't hesitate. He lunged. The detonator skidded across wet concrete. The 2 men crashed into the tunnel wall. Years of strategy disappeared. Only survival remained. The fight was brutal and fast. Neither man spoke. Finally, Kane reached for the detonator again. A single shot echoed through the tunnel. Not at Kane, at the detonator. A federal tactical officer emerging from the far entrance had disabled it with remarkable precision. Within seconds, Kane was surrounded. Handcuffs clicked into place. For the first time in years, Victor Kane had nowhere left to run. 3 days later, Chicago finally breathed again. News channels called it the largest criminal conspiracy uncovered in decades. Most of the details remained classified. Lily never corrected the headlines. Some truths belonged only to those who had survived them. Graduation arrived 2 months later. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as students unveiled their final collections. Lily stood backstage, staring at the restored sketchbook in her hands. Every page had been repaired, every corner carefully preserved. Inside the front cover, someone had quietly added a handwritten note. Your mother believed beauty could protect truth. You proved she was right. She knew exactly who had written it. When her collection reached the runway, the audience rose to its feet. Elegant gowns flowed beneath the lights. Each design honored her mother's artistry, while celebrating a future no longer ruled by fear. After the show, Lily slipped outside into the cool Chicago evening. The city's skyline shimmered across the river. She found Dante waiting beside the same black SUV she had once feared. Except tonight. There were no flashing emergency lights, no helicopters, no gunfire, only quiet. You came. I said I would. He handed her a small velvet box. Inside rested a silver fountain pen, engraved with her initials, L.H. For your next sketchbook. She smiled. I suppose this one has a hidden compartment too. He actually laughed. A quiet, genuine laugh she had never heard before. No. She looked at him for a long moment. You don't have to keep watching over me. I know. But if I asked to stay in your life, his voice was steady, yet more vulnerable than she had ever heard. Would you let me? Lily stepped closer, until only inches separated them. When we first met, she said softly, I thought you shut down an entire subway because someone stole my sketchbook. I did. She tilted her head. No. A gentle smile touched her lips. You shut it down because you thought you were about to lose me. Dante held her Hase. I spent 12 years protecting you from the shadows. He reached up slowly, giving her every chance to step away. She didn't. His fingertips brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I'd rather spend the rest of my life standing beside you in the light. Lily closed the final distance between them. Their kiss was gentle, earned, not born from danger, but from trust. Behind them, Chicago glittered beneath a clear night sky. The city had once come to a standstill because a frightened student lost her sketchbook. Now it moved forward again. So did they. As they walked together along the river, Lily slipped her hand into Dante's. For the first time in 12 years, neither of them was running from the past. They were finally free to design the future together.